Time. Time's a weird thing, man. I think about time a lot in life. It's probably my biggest thing I think about. Time I spend at work, time I commute, time I drive, to and from work, time I spend with my family, with my dogs, time I don't spend with my family and dogs, all those kind of things. And you guys talk to me about time a lot, in a negative sense a lot of times. A lot of people always complain that my beer reviews are a little bit too long. Oh, too long. Get to the point. Get to the point. It's too fucking long. You know, and I would say my beer reviews typically span 6 to 10 minutes on average. So, give or take about 8.5 minutes is the average. And I get a lot of people that complain about that because that's a long time. Long time to invest, and something as silly as beer tube, and beer reviews. And if you just watched the whole beginning of this video, hopefully you did, it's probably pretty awkward, probably pretty boring, and probably pretty painful. Just imagine somebody kneeling on your neck for that long. 8 minutes and 46 seconds. You had to watch me sit here and do nothing for that long, and it was probably uncomfortable and frustrating. Just think about that, Think about that, because we got off easy, We're going to be doing a beer tonight called Black is Beautiful. This is spearheaded by the gentleman over at Weathersold Brewing, and it is brewed to support justice and equality for people of color, hence the name. It's a stout base recipe, much similar to Altogether, but on a much different plane as far as the purposing of the beer. Basically, the originator, because I can't remember anything, I forget the gentleman's name, who actually spearheaded this. He is a part owner and head brewer of Weathered Souls, and he is a black gentleman, and he spearheaded this as a kind of way for people to brew it and donate money in an important way to a lot of positive outcomes. I guess that'd be the right word to say for people of color, for advantage. Like, for example, it's not just okay, you get to take the money and just donate it to your wait staff or anything like that. And I'm not knocking that what Altogether did, because it's just a much different thing in that it's trying to help people just have the same opportunity. People of color have the same opportunity, and that's what the beer is all about. I know certain breweries like Carton Brewing is starting an internship for people of color to actually, learn the three folds of a brewery, whether it be from front of the house to brewing to business and stuff like that. And a lot of people are doing similar things with this beer as the kind of catalyst for that. But that's for another talk. That's for another podcast. We're just going to talk about the beer for now. How's that? I said my piece in the beginning, or maybe I didn't say my piece at all. Maybe that's more powerful than actually saying things. I don't know. But I figured it was worth mentioning because, we're, a couple, several weeks beyond Mr. Floyd's death, and a lot of people are starting to forget. We shouldn't. Let's put it that way. Anyway, label design is awesome. I mean, if you just talk about it from a purely just graphical standpoint, it's simple, basic, to the point, but beautiful at the same time. Oh, this is the Montclair Brewing. I should actually have said that at the beginning. Montclair Brewery version of Black is Beautiful. They're a black-owned brewery in New Jersey. My buddy Keith actually picked this up. And the beer itself, I mean, it's rich, it's dark, it's black. Now, that head dissipated really quickly. You're talking about a 10% alcohol by volume beer. Base Imperial Stout with no adjunct. The head should knock off that quickly. Now, I don't know how Montclair does their canning. I don't know if they're crowlering cans or doing proper canning. I don't know what. But that head dissipated pretty quickly in that sucker. So, not boding well for its carbonation. Anyway, let's get to the nose. I mean, that smells really nice. It comes off a little bit. I got a little bit of stout in my nose. It comes off a little bit more like a little bit of Russian Imperial Stout for me, because I'm getting these rich chocolates, but they come more in that kind of darker chocolate kind of spectrum. Not much as far as milk chocolate involved here, and there is a soft little nice bittering involved. So it's giving me very much kind of Russian Imperial Stout chocolate vibes. Yeah, I mean, I like that. It smells nice. It's got this little nutty characteristic. I keep getting stale down there. How the hell am I snorting beer? It's like a vacuum in there. Anyway, yeah, it's it's got this soft, nutty characteristic along with this kind of rich, dark chocolate characteristic and a little bit of soft, hot bittering. It smells really nice, minus that little bit of a carbonation snafu. Let's actually get a taste. Okay. It's nice. The carbonation, lack of carbonation, I should say, really does come to a head here. And I think it kind of mutes the beer a little bit. A lot of your effervescence from both taste and smell come from carbonation. With this having that lack of carbonation, it just kind of knocks it back a bit as far as impact goes. It drinks more like a 7% beer as opposed to a double-digit beer. The chocolate and the beer itself comes off quite nice. And by chocolate, I mean chocolate malt. It's all chocolate malt driven. There's no kind of adjunct in here. And it is that kind of, runs that gamut of that straight baker's chocolate up to like getting to semi-sweet chocolate, but not quite getting there. That nutty characteristic the malt follows through too. A little bit smaller than what you expect based off of the nose, but it's still quite nice. There's the bittering on there is giving me that Russian Imperial Stout vibe. So if anything, I'm calling this a Russian Imperial Stout. There's the ever so slightest bit of ashy dryness. Sometimes I get this in base stouts every now and then. And it's not an overtly negative thing for me, but I think it's more of kind of just a perceptual thing for me specifically. I think that's just the way some of these bigger stouts that are really kind of, I don't want to say muted, but simple. And I'm not saying that as a negative term, kind of come off. So it's tasty, it's nice, it drinks well under its weight class, but I believe it kind of suffers greatly from the lack of carbonation. Yeah, I mean, well made, tasty. I like the way that chocolate comes off without being overtly sweet. I like the way that nutty malt kind of comes through too. The bittering is a surprise, but a welcome surprise because Daddy likes his Russian Imperial Stouts. And yeah, it's a tasty beer. That's not the point though. It's a good beer for a good cause. It's much the same. Not that I want to keep associating these beers with altogether, because again, completely different kind of stances they're taking. But I don't want to sit here and kind of judge. Not that I don't think I judge beer. I just kind of talk about whether I like it or not. I think if this beer was way worse than this or way better than this, I don't think I'd get much less satisfaction or much more satisfaction off of it, just because you're supporting a good cause. Now this comes from my buddy Keith, so he's the one who went out and got it because I'm one of those COVID people that don't go anywhere. But just the fact that people are taking up the mantle for a good cause like this and brewing their beers with their own little spin on it, in a positive way for a positive movement. A lot of people viewed it, the Black Lives Matter movement and everything associated with it as a negative thing. Well, you would be wrong. And the fact that people are taking up the mantle, I think we're over 1,000 breweries now that are on board with this, is absolutely fantastic. So it's one of those things where let's put it this way. If you can get this one from Montclair, do it to it. Have at it. I'm curious to see what you guys think. But at the same time, support your local breweries that are supporting this kind of cause. I don't have a ton. There's a couple breweries that are kind of close to me because I don't travel that much. Kind of close to me that are doing it. They're just not out yet. And the ones that were out yet, they didn't hit distro and they were super far away, stuff like that. So this is the first one I've had of the shoot. Hopefully more of the same will come out. But I appreciate Keith for grabbing it for me. I appreciate Montclair brewing it. And I appreciate all the breweries that are going out of their way to actually pick this up and do their thing. So there you go. Is it one of the better base stouts that I've had as of late? It's worthy of being in a conversation. If that carbonation was there, I think it'd be much higher, but it's still worthy of the conversation, and a very important conversation at that. That conversation that needs to be had of people like me, have conversations with your white friends about these issues. That's the most important conversation you can have. You can go back and listen to the talk I did with Kyle, No Hype Beer Reviews, about having that uncomfortable conversation. So, but this beer itself is in that conversation. Value and availability, I don't care what it costs. You know what I mean? If this is $20 a 4-pack, so be it, because the money's going to a good cause. So that does not bother me in any form or fashion. And leave you with, if you like what we like this beer. If you like being a good person, If you like, you know, just if you just like not being a piece of shit, I guess, and not being a douchebag, you'll like this beer. If you like good people doing good things for good results and good outcomes, you'll like this beer. So there you go. Another review in the books. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. Down there if you want to talk about it. Massive Beers if you want to check me out doing the social media stuff. Beer Massive podcasting. Hopefully you guys enjoyed their beer. Hopefully you're enjoying a Black Lives Matter, or I should say Black is Beautiful beer right now. Hope we'll see you next time. Cheers.